How's it going? Let's see. Um, well, I saw a movie the other day called Avocado Toast, and it just was like, showed me again how much like the power structure hates millennials and how much they need to lie about us so they can feel good about killing us off. um it was like all this nonsense about um I guess I'll do kind of a film review. I mean, spoiler alert, I guess. Like this, it's about this guy. He's like, he was born in 1987 or 1986, and he's like talking about how millennials are a bunch of lazy trash who just don't care about anybody, and they just do whatever they want at all times. Um and then his friends are like, bro, you are a millennial, you're born in 86. And then they say like millennials are everybody born after 1982, which is some weird nonsense because they used to always say was born after 1980. So I'm a millennial by the 1980 one. By the new one, I don't exist because I'm not Gen X, or they're trying to just kick us out because they know, honestly, people my age are some of the most dangerous millennials because we're the ones who started it all. Like we're the ones who started all this, who um led the led the course to the left and just away from the mainstream and away from the the uh conservatism of previous generations. And and it's probably largely us who have maintained it, because if the oldest millennials, the ones who are 40 right now, or 40, I think some are 41. I just turned 40. I was born in 1981, so technically there are millennials born in 1980. Now they're trying to change the thing and kick us out of every generation and say literally we don't exist. Like if you're born between 1982 and 1979 or something, you just are excluded from all generations now. But we used to be considered part of the millennials, and sometimes now they call us exennials, which, and then they include that even from like 1978 through 1983 or something like that. um okay, that might have some meaning, but at the end of the day, like, we are millennials. Like there's nothing that millennials really are doing that we didn't do, you know there's no real difference between somebody who's born in 1986 and me, because like, I feel the biggest changes happened in my lifetime and in my generation. So, um, we were the ones who started listening to gangster rap and wearing baggy clothes and smoking weed more openly. And, uh, I mean, I guess raves were already a thing, but I'm saying, like, so everything culturally, basically, besides like internet stuff, which again, internet stuff, we've helped lead the way. Even Gen X has helped lead the way on a lot of stuff. Um, but anyway, so I consider myself millennial because they used to say it's, and still some people say it starts at 1980. I think now they tend to move it up just because they're trying to push the narrative. Like, they're really basically trying to kick me out of it. They're trying to push the narrative, like they're trying to divide people. And to have a generation as large as ours that is people from 41 down to 25 or something, that's a big monolith. So it's better to turn people against each other, be like, oh no, you guys are separate. Like, I don't know what this, I mean, I don't, like, they just, honestly, in a way, they just shouldn't have these words if they cannot agree on what the years are. It's so stupid. Like it's kind of a made up concept anyway, you know, like it's not how anything really works. Like everybody's just born in their own year. Like what makes somebody a boomer, what makes somebody a this? They just choose these, like somebody in the media chooses an arbitrary cutoff year. And they say this is this such and like the baby boomers, they were kind of like the original baby boomers, like my mom and her brother. They were like the first baby boomers, and they were a real thing. They were an actual baby boom that happened after the World War II, where a bunch of people had a bunch of kids. So that makes sense because it's an actual phenomenon. Um, but then they just included all these other people as baby boomers that were born like, I don't know, like in the 70s or something. Um, I mean, or at least like in the 60s, like I don't know. It's like how can you, it's not connected to the baby boom really if it's like in the 60s. Um Arguably. But so it's very arbitrary, you know, these generational things. But anyway, so this movie, this guy's saying like, he's like, oh, so he finds out he's a millennial and he gets really pissed. It's the dumbest fucking movie ever. Like this guy, I don't know, is dumb. Bad acting, bad writing, had like 5 awards or something. And that, you know, it's like everything is still run by boomers, I think, and or at least Gen X. And so they're all like, this is just what I was telling Martha the other day. And the millennials are all lazy and they all dumb. You know, this is the, you know, brainworm boomers that like gave this movie like 5 awards, or Gen X or whoever thinks this is like some kind of biting commentary. Like it doesn't even make sense. He's saying things that nobody would ever say. So he goes like, okay, well, if I'm a millennial, then he has like this you know, identity crisis because he finds out he's a millennial and his whole identity was based on hating millennials. And he thought he said, I always thought I was a hardworking, um, you know, dedicated, responsible Generation X person. I didn't know I was part of the millennial slacker generation. Like, he literally says that word, slacker generation. So fucking stupid. You know, like the slacker generation was a term coined for Generation X. Could probably just Google that shit. Like whoever wrote this stupid fucking movie. But they don't care because it's fine to trash. I mean, millennials, like people from 41 to 25, we got to be at least like half of the country. Um, we're like 90% of the workforce, yet we're slackers. Like if we slacked, if we were such slackers, the country would collapse, the world would collapse, the economy would collapse. You stupid, like, you know, arrogant boomers would not get anything. You would not get your, like, you know, your little servants bringing you shit. You would die without us working. You know, like I'm not working right now, but I've been working like my whole life doing very necessary work, feeding boomers. Like I've fed thousands of boomers in my life, thousands and thousands of boomers. But yet we're slackers and we're trash and we don't do anything. Okay, okay, then y'all come out of retirement and do all these jobs. Do that shit for yourself. Sick of these. Like honestly, like if you talk shit about my generation, I have no more tolerance for that than if you talk shit about, you know, a race, a sex, anything like that. Like you're trashing a bunch of people. It's no different. You know, like I just would love somebody to say to my face, yeah, I would love somebody to have the fucking balls to say to my face that millennials are lazy and that we're the slacker generation. See what the fuck happens. So yeah, like don't Yeah, don't confuse me just because I'm some like white guy on YouTube that I'm not a total psycho and that I don't stick up for my shit. Like I hate these people. Like people who hate my generation, yeah, I hate them back. So I mean this movie, right? Like, okay, they were kind of lighthearted and it was a comedy or whatever. But all it did was trash us. Didn't say one fucking good thing in the whole movie about our entire generation. The generation who is sustaining our country. The workers, the working class. We are the working class generation, you know? Unless you think that it's all people over 41 or under 25 who are doing all the work. No, we are doing the most of the work and we've been doing most of the work for a while. So so don't go to the store. Don't go out. Don't go anywhere you might have to rely on a millennial if you think we're so lazy and worthless. You know, go to some 100% boomer store or 100% whatever. Um, and, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's just like the way that it's so acceptable to just insult vast swaths of the population if they're considered the younger generation because they're like, oh no, we're the boomers are the adults, the Gen X are the real adults, so it's okay to trash these millennial kids. Like kids, really? We're 40, 41, 42 might be the oldest. If you're born in 1980, um, yeah, well, at least you could be like 41 right now. Are you a child if you're 41? No, but you're still going to be treated by like a child in this stupid generational war. Um, I mean, the biggest crime that our generation committed is that the older members of it, like me, didn't completely sell out. Like surely a lot of us completely sold out. I'm sure a lot of the assholes I grew up with, I'm sure they sold out as quick as they could, but enough of us stayed legit, stayed leftist, stayed, um, I don't know, like had some kind of humility and solidarity, that we didn't just, like for other generations, like usually always the rich members of a generation or the greedy members of the generation, the selfish members of each generation basically kill off the rest of their own generation. Like, like the selfish boomers, they're the reason that all those other boomers were homeless on the streets because all the selfish boomers, supported Reagan and supported all this shit. And so the fact that, there's not enough of us that have done the same thing and have feasted on our own, that we have a certain amount of solidarity, just as human beings at least, um, makes us an enemy, the enemy of the system, because the system only works when people turn against their own. And I'm not trying to like say fuck all boomers or fuck all Gen X. Like if you're a Gen X or a boomer who doesn't trash millennials, then God bless you, like but if you can't understand the anger that we have when we constantly get trashed by boomers and Gen X, and if you can't understand the anger that we have that boomers overall are the reason that we are still in slavery, it's their votes, it's their actions that keep us under right-wing duopoly dictatorship. At least, like if it wasn't for them, at least in theory, we would have Bernie, or we would have like, I mean, who knows? Maybe if it wasn't for them and we tried to have any kind of freedom, then the elites would literally just nuke us or something. So who knows? But at least potentially we would have a chance to have some kind of freedom in this country if it was if the boomers didn't just, you know, like so overwhelmingly worship the Democrats and Republicans, and so overwhelmingly worship Zionism, and so overwhelmingly accept imperialism. Uh, so yeah, like if I say like effing boomers or Gen X, whatever. I'm definitely not talking about all, and I know that some of the best people in the world are boomers and are Gen X. Um, but you know, the ones who suck, they do it like together, and they do it, you know, it is a generational war, even if not everybody's in on it. Um, it is a basically a war against millennials and against Zoomers. So anyway, yeah, so they said slacker, this slacker, which is so stupid to bring up like a quintessentially Gen X associated concept to trash us with, you know, like everything that they said, like the whole stupid, like formulaic, like cheesy movie could have just been made in like 1990 about Gen X. And it probably basically was. Like I saw like all the stupid things where boomers were complaining about these slackers and they just don't want to do anything but play video games and just hang out, and these Generation X, what are we gonna do with them? We just don't know what to do with them, you know? Meanwhile, Gen X was probably already doing much of the actual manual labor in the country while they were being shit all over by boomers. And, you know, so now maybe some Gen X is helping shit on us. I mean, I think Gen X is like a somewhat, oh, not to say neutral, but they're kind of divided, you know, like some, like in some ways they are boomers and in some ways they are millennials. They led us, you know, like if anybody, I mean, boomers and Gen X both were our main uh, kind of role models, I guess, growing up. So, you know, they led us in a lot of ways. Um, but, you know, we've certainly seen with a lot of the Gen X celebrities how quick they are to sell out. But, you know, I'm sure all the millennials celebrities sell out too. So it's like potato, potato, right? Um, so, yeah, this movie, like, he cheats on his girlfriend because he says that's what a millennial would do, and because his friend is a fellow millennial, and he just, you know, he say, hey, what's up, so I'm having an affair, haha, yeah, I always wanted to. It's like the stupidest dialogue I've ever seen. Like it's so like unrealistic. Anyway, so supposedly all millennials do is cheat, um and not work, you know, like the customer service people. It's like they have all these people that are like, they show some people that are like kind of seem like disgruntled teenagers in customer service. And then they're like, oh, yeah, you know how millennials are. But like, I bet there's like so many people that are like boomers or Gen X or whatever who have those experiences, and they're like, this teenager was rude to me. Oh, stupid millennials. And like, teenagers are not millennials at all. They're like 10 years away from being, you know, like millennials are from age 25 or 26 up. So, like, honestly, yeah, the boomers can't even insult the right people. Like they insult like the freaking uh yeah, they insult the zoomers and they call them millennials. And then millennials get blamed for anything zoomers do wrong. Like there's never been disgruntled teenagers. Like they're like Gen X wasn't disgruntled. Like what did they say? The big word for Gen X was like angst. Teen angst. You know, Gen X was like Nirvana, grunge. It was like the whole, all the rhetoric around Gen X was almost identical to all the rhetoric around millennials. And all the rhetoric around Gen X was almost identical to all the rhetoric around boomers when they were younger. You know, they were called the me generation. Like this movie said, it says millennials, known as the me generation. Like, no, again, you are completely lying. Like, we're not the slacker generation. We're not the me generation. Slacker generation was Gen X. I mean, I'm not saying Gen X were slackers, but he's trying to reference phrases that phrase was applied, if it's an actual like term attached to a generation, it's attached to Gen X, not us. And like people don't even use the word slacker anymore. Fuck's sakes. And me generation was used to refer to boomers, to the yuppies, all the yuppies that used to be hippies, and then they're just like, they saw the yuppie thing as an extension of the hippie thing because it's like liberation. I get whatever I want. I don't know, something like that. I mean, there was just, or that's like a theory some people have that like somehow the hippie thing fed into the yuppie thing and into this kind of like extreme, um, irresponsible selfishness, narcissism. So anyway, I'm not saying boomers are that, or not all boomers certainly were yuppies, but that's if that's a real phrase associated with a generation, it's with boomers, not us. Like it's just so stupid how they can't even keep their own insults straight. It's like a racist person and they're calling you like the wrong slur for the wrong race or something. It just shows how fucking dumb they are. And this, oh, I don't know. I didn't check which awards it got, but somehow this movie got at least 4 awards. So I just think it's like people who are just as stupid as them who are like, ha ha, this will show those kids. It's like, whatever. I don't know. Maybe it was just their friends gave it an award. Anyways, terrible movie. I mean, there are obviously worse things in the world than a movie, but this type of rhetoric is used to perpetuate capitalism. It's used to divide the youth, divide the working class, divide, you know, divide everybody, and demonize people who are not like total lockstep capitalists, basically, who have any, you know, who even want a little wiggle room, even if we're doing all the work in the country almost. But we're just we're just like want a little wiggle room, or sometimes we're not total like suck ups as much as we're expected to be. So so we suck supposedly. Anyway, so um, yeah, it's like it's trash. It's no better than racist, like racism or sexism or homophobia, transphobia, whatever the hell. Like if you're going on like talking shit, calling millennials like lazy, um, I mean, if you're gonna generalize, be accurate. We are doing all the work in this country. You know, most of the jobs are filled by us. So if you don't like it, then don't benefit of our off our labor. Go only shop at places that are 100% Zoomer, or oh well, I mean, I think the people who hate millennials, most of them probably hate Zoomers too. But yeah, go to some 100% Boomer Gen X place or something. Because if you're gonna talk shit about people, then don't take food from them. You know, don't like use people if you're gonna disrespect them. But that's what they do. They use all of our labor, just like every capitalist does. They use the workers and then they shit all over them. So anyway, solidarity to comrades. Much love to people of every generation that have respect and are truthful. And you know, sorry if my language has been a little like angry and everything about the boomer thing, but I mean, yeah, God bless to the good boomers, and just I mean, it shouldn't be accepted, when people talk shit about a generation for stupid reasons. Like, I mean, I support if people complain about how the boomers like created, gave us, destroyed the planet, yada yada. That's real stuff. If millennials had done that, then I would say absolutely you should bring it up. But if you're just people are just complaining, we're basically doing all the work of the country, but we're not doing it on, we're still not sucking up enough. We're still not enough of suck ups, or maybe because we're not rich enough, or I don't know, or maybe just people just have to hate young people. It's just a compulsive thing because they're jealous. even though a lot of us are not even young anymore, but they still have to hate us. So anyway, it's not acceptable and it should be not tolerated. Um, all right, so solidarity, everyone. Much love and take care.